It hasn't even been two. We're just back, and man, it's an interesting week. I had something really really interesting to say in that last episode, and I'm not the one getting paid. But anyway, um, seems like the bikes are all gassed up, and the race war is on Gifts and Go, and I don't know. The new challenger is taking the fast lead, and for some reason the head of Gifts and Go called out all of the hateful comments on one of the campaigns, but not the other. But
Oh, he called it out on both campaigns. He
oh, did he?
just waited until the second campaign.
Oh, right. Because he didn't that whole time.
I'm guessing it's because he wasn't paying much attention to the one campaign.
No, I mean there was the whole thing of like, how dare you, and the outrage, and people that are saying I'm never going to do this, and then
Yeah,
him
but
making specific comments about that campaign. But hey, you know, things happen.
I mean, he
People
actually went over there to read the comments.
it kind of seems like he certainly didn't. But anyhow,
I'm guessing he
that's
didn't do it for this one either until she was like flooded with emails or it went up the escalation chain or whatever.
who even knows? It's a
Yeah,
bit ridiculous, all said, but it's funny. So whatever,
it's
and
quite
it's kind of
ridiculous. It's hilarious because now overt racism has a leaderboard.
kind of.
It's so
Anyway,
fucking retarded. I just like I get. Here's the thing: is you can understand the mentality behind someone who's more of a normie who would donate to Shiloh Hendricks.
well, I mean, to be fair, she
Given,
didn't kill
given given the
anybody.
backlash, well, yeah, I'm just saying, given the kind of well, it's that's the main issue is how do these people donate to a killer and say these heinous things in the messages. How is that allowed? How is that a thing?
Yeah, how come
And then this
that's
woman
cool?
says a
I'm gonna
word,
kill some lady.
and I'm actually gonna dig into the whole shallow thing a little bit quickly here because like how does this woman say a word? It's offensive, sure. Like how does she say an offensive word? To quote autistic. I none of us know, and all we have is a single picture of the kid where he appears to be like 8 to 10, not 5.
Yeah, he
Um,
is not a.
but she said a word to a kid
Yeah.
who tried to steal out of her diaper bag for her own son or
Mm-hmm.
daughter, whatever it was, her own kid.
Yeah.
She decided to basically tell the kid to fuck off, which any adult is well. I mean, look, it's pretty straightforward. Like, I'm not gonna chase after the kid unless the kid runs away with my stuff, or my kid's stuff. Like, I'm not gonna chase after them. But if they do something fucked up like that, I might tell them to fuck off.
Sure.
And I might use that kind of language specifically to make it impactful, supposing that their parents haven't already ruined that by abusing it too often in the home.
Mm. Fair point there. Yeah.
And my goal isn't going to be to like scar the kid for life, but maybe to like make him think twice instead of stealing the next time. And by the way, by the time you're that age, if you steal, it should come with punishment because you already know right from wrong,
Yeah,
and
you
you
should
should have been
for
told by
sure
parents that
know better.
you should have been told by your parents what right and wrong are. But speaking of parents, one, where the fuck were they? And
Mm-hmm.
two, why was the kid alone at a playground with with a fucking Somali pedophile filming him?
Yeah, that's the other part.
So, so,
Since
so
we're gonna
that's the
well,
other
since we're
shoe,
gonna
isn't it?
dig
That's the
into
foot
this,
coming
we
down.
should probably talk about the
Just want to
people
like
that were
lay that one out
alone
there.
at that park,
Just
because
want to lay that one out there.
there's
What the
this
fuck happened?
autistic 5-year-old black boy who's stealing things from some lady, and then you've got Sharmaik Omar that or Sharmaik Bael or Bailey. I don't know how the hell it's pronounced, but Sharmaik Omar. He's been convicted of raping a minor. that
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and help out with this one. Um,
that's the guy doing the
the
filming.
service the guy doing
The
the
guy that
filming.
was, just a quick note, the convicted rapist that was filming at where was that, a playground
No.
for
We
children?
got hey we got
Just
to
curious.
take a step back here because we got to fix this one.
Uh
This person was not convicted of rape
oh,
of a minor.
charged, right? Okay.
Charged, and the
Or
charge was dropped, quote, in the interest of justice, which is when the court says, fuck it, just because. Which is what's used in Minnesota, otherwise known as far western Somalia, specifically to avoid having biases in their outcomes.
oh,
When there's a heavy bias in the
small
incidents.
update there, Craig. Actually, it would appear that it was his accomplice, Mohammed Hussein Omer, whose charges were dropped. As a matter of fact, Charmaine's charges are still, as
Oh, right.
of
Those are
yesterday.
coming in like a couple days, right?
Yeah, it looks like his charges actually do still exist as of this time, which is good.
So yeah, in the interest of justice, the accomplice was let go. And so it's the the video of the guy responding was so fucking obscene. It's dude, this is what the court docs say. You can't just say like I was found innocent. It's like no. Your hearing is in days. That's not found innocent. The accomplice is let off in the interest of justice because they only want you. That, and this probably means that you got a deal for corroborating evidence of some variety that gives them a conviction. Which, you can only hope that's the case if it was really. And here's the speculation part. I mean, we can say what we will about this, and we have the victim testimony, or the victim statements rather. Those have been published as well. Let me rephrase that. The statement, the testimony by the officer, that Leo, who took the statements, has his summary of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of fucked up. So, like, the whole in the interest of justice part, I'm fucking hoping that's gonna be in the interest of getting a conviction against the one guy, so that they just ride it out easily, and the other guy took a plea deal or something.
Damn well better.
Because otherwise, it's just, well, we're letting him get away with it.
Now that said,
And that's not good.
Minnesota.
Right, which is, they do this up there. This is not the first time. This is not the last time. Now, that phrasing, in the interest of justice, is used as a kind of a catch-all for not continuing criminal charges if there is a plea deal. If there's a non-criminal settlement for it that the state's willing to accept, and they don't want to pursue criminal restitution, in the criminal system, then they will say, in the interest of justice, charges have been dropped. There might be some other binding agreement with the court, settle it as a civil matter separately. You have an order to do this, that, and the other as far as restitution, or
and there's an
you have an order to do this, that, and the other as a payment.
There's an update from the second saying that they are dropped, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But
well, I can provide you images here. Here's this one. This is based. It's short and sweet. You can see all the way down at the very bottom.
Right, but that's for the other guy.
Right. So that's Minnesota versus Mohammed Hussein Omer. And then here's the statements. These are probably not going to be as useful just spoken out loud, but they're free for later, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah. The let's just say that victim was in the parlance of this thing, victim does this, victim does that. Victim was not treated well by these two assholes.
No. Most certainly not.
Right.
kidnapped
So,
and held against her will and forced to have sex with.
but again, point being here,
twice.
fucking pedophile is at a children's playground
Mm-hmm.
filming an unaccompanied minor
Yeah.
who's stealing from a fucking other kid's diaper bag.
Well, maybe we don't know. We don't know what he was recording. We just know that he was out there making videos.
Again, the statement was non-specific enough to. I'm sorry if I made that kind of inference there, but like, again, they're filming at a children's playground where this other kid is.
Yeah, but the only two unaccompanied people there are, this one 5-year-old autistic black boy, and then, Johnny rapes a lot over here. So there are certain inferences that can be drawn from such a situation,
Yes, the primary one is it's a begging the question one. Where the fuck are the parents?
Yep. Because
this is what they did to this little girl.
My kid hanging around, that fucking guy. Not with that kind.
This is what they did to the little girl. They picked her up from a fucking foster parents, I think it was, and then they took her back to their place. And then there was problems.
Yep.
So, were they there? Did the parents leave for 5 minutes, or were they just not there? Was this where they took the kid to make him feel better before taking him home to rape him? We have no answers on it. And I want to make clear that's just speculation, and I'm being an asshole there, but for a fucking reason. The witness statement taken by the Leo is kind of straightforward.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I've included a link to a thread with plenty of information for anybody that wants to.
I'm sure they've got all the things I've sent and more.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff there. But
so there's there's inferences on there's a whole racial undertone and overtones on it too, in other aspects of it. Again. So I think I put it on a different statement. We got a leaderboard between a woman who's named after a fictional dog and a kid who's named after a candy bar. They're each getting over $500,000 each at this point, which is fucking retarded. But fools and their money are being parted. Don't stop them.
Oh, but guess what? I've got an update directly related to fools and money being parted and having their ways, kind of fork. And it would appear that we might have hit our own little fork here in the road.
Oh.
Now, we've talked about this before. The kind of dead Indian internet theory where, they're basically just getting X to,
the payout cutoff. Yep. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man. That pissed off.
Of Indian individuals who are tremendously displeased at the situation currently because for some reason the payouts in India are not coming with the regularity that some of these folks have come to expect.
And it was no payout, no premium, I believe was the hashtag going around. It was something to that effect.
That is
exactly. It was like no payout _ no premium.
That's the one.
They were fucking angry.
Mm-hmm.
And posting in a language that Elon does not speak, which was even funnier.
Truly.
And the broken English was. Look. Here's the thing: is I can make fun of this as the ignorant American over here. It's obviously I don't begrudge them speaking their language they've known from birth. The one they've been exposed to their whole life. The funny part is that they're posting these things at Elon. Obviously you can do the basic Google translation on a post, but he's not going to fucking do that. What are they expecting him to do? And again, he kind of stepped back. And there's a different CEO for the company. That was definitely not his decision, which is definitely hilarious that they're going after him for it.
Hmm?
He's not the guy to talk to.
No. What you might say is, "Sir, please, sir."
Yeah, no. They didn't. That's the problem,
sir.
God damn. Holy shit! Like, and they've been running a bunch of fucking scams from India, and it's just blatantly obvious. And so, you know, I hope that the people who are doing legitimate things and were doing things in a way that was not pissing people off, and were expecting their payout, will eventually get some sort of, effectively furloughed backup. Like they'll get repaid like the same way we do of our fucking federal government over here every time there's a shutdown. I understand it sucks to have this revenue stream cut off, especially if you, for some inexplicable reason, built a career off of posting on X. That's like that part's just kind of bewildering that you do that. I mean, I get that there are artists who proposition and do transaction on there. It's just though, if you're doing it for ad rev and that's like your whole income,
probably not the smartest way of handling it.
I don't want to say like get a skill and get a job, but like it's kind of everything else is more stable. Even like investing in crypto.
Well,
like
investing in said that it would be wise for a person in such a situation, perhaps to learn a coding language. Now,
no.
Where once we might have suggested that. Now, what I would personally suggest is to.
Too many of them know how to program in Java just enough to sucker someone into buying their code.
Oh, exactly.
Worthless.
Yes, so
fucking worthless.
Exactly that. So, what I would advise, dear SARS, is learn your prompt engineering. You're going to have to come up with good prompts for those AIs to give you what you need, guys.
That comes with proper spelling in English.
It does. So, you're going to have to practice. You are going to have to practice. But it's going to be okay.
Well, speaking of practice and doing things that are insane in the literal definitional sense, Canada, speaking of India Part 2.
Go on.
They had their election.
Yeah, we did talk about this.
We did, and they fucked it up.
As they do.
Mm-hmm.
And have.
And they were frustrated about that, of course, because they didn't want Trump to run Canada, which was totally going to happen. And so there's been that separatist movement in was that Alberta and Ottawa?
I think so, yeah.
And so there were petitions that were going around. I have not seen the outcomes of those, so I'm hoping that's like a thing at some point. That would be really funny to see. Not Alberta, Saskatchewan.
Let me see if there's an update on that.
The fucking idiot. Well, it's just funny because, I mean, they're our neighbor, but they also are woefully irrelevant. Their economy is a tenth the size of ours. Oh. This is the one I was thinking of.
There is an update, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
And there's rather a few updates on this as well. It looks like people are actually talking about this seriously.
Yeah, they've been talking about it for a little while. I was surprised they actually put a real petition out.
Well, better still.
Made me pissed, man.
Oh, no. There's even more. The Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, has tabled a bill just a week back that's going to make it easier for the voters in the province to force a referendum. It's going to lower the threshold from 600,000 signatures to, it says here, about 170,000.
Should have lowered it down to 20,000.
Oh, I'd be happy with 10. But, put the pressure on them. Go for it.
Yeah.
Even if Soros's good friend Mark Carney is wanting to come to the table and talk, I mean, maybe he'll be a better governor than, Justin Trudeau would have been.
Speaking of coming to the table, let's talk about how they arrived there in Canada. You see, they stuck through, and their EPA agency, their equivalent up there. They were able to, without a bill without any other stuff. Like basically the same way we get frustrated about policies, or it used to be the case that business, or not business unit, a government unit could like come up with policy, and somehow that was treated like it was law. And we said
I've
like,
heard of
fuck
such
that.
things, perhaps.
Yeah. So yeah. So they have that up there in Canada still, because of course they haven't figured out that that's a shitty thing to do. Just have unelected people unilaterally decide that new laws can exist, because fuck you. Um, so right now, Canada doesn't have an all-electric vehicle fleet, does it? Yeah, there are gas cars up in Canada.
I hear it gets cold up there. From what I understand,
Yeah,
batteries are not super great in the cold.
it, depending, but yeah, when you get to like -40 to -70, they tend to choke up a little bit. They have a little hard time starting up. So they ruled that, or they decided, not ruled, they decided that all of Canada must have 100% electric vehicle sales by, I believe it was 2035.
I might have been sooner,
And
I
it's
thought,
like
but yeah.
70% by 2030, or
Oh wait,
I
I'm
think
thinking of
thereabouts.
California. But yeah.
Yeah,
California's
it
2030.
was okay. Yeah, so like, yeah, that was like decided earlier. This is relatively recent for Canada. They decided that they're going to go all electric in Canada, where they are, where if you're not in the city, you're rural, like really rural.
Yep.
And if you want to drive anywhere in the really rural Canada, your car does not start out in a car park at like a toasty 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It starts off at like -70 outside, buried in the snow. So, so they wanted they. It's just, if it's not one thing, it's another kind of problem. If what happens when it's summer up there and you want to drive from northern Canada to southern Canada? Oh yeah, and they're trying to go like all renewable. They're in fucking Canada, man. So there's not enough sunlight that hits Canada to service Canada. There's not enough wind that passes through Canada to service Canada. There's not enough combined electricity to meet their needs. If they went geothermal, I could see that happening, because at least then they could have a chance of getting down low enough in the crust
Yeah, maybe.
where they could pump out enough heat to maybe warm up their car to start the fucking thing. They'd have to drill pretty deep for geothermal up there, and while it's not like horribly tectonically active up there, there are plates and faults, so the station would have to be placed nicely. And I bet you it's the same thing. I complained about this last time, I know, but like the same kind of greeny weenies that would demand that that's a thing are the exact same motherfuckers who'd stand in the way of it being built. So good luck, Canada, getting enough electricity to power yourselves, especially after just bad mouthing the United States and telling us how much you don't need to sell us your electricity and how you will cripple us by not doing that. When you run out trying to power your entire country off of renewables and running everything off of electric vehicles.
Oh, I know. Maybe they could use wind.
The I told you so is going to be so fucking loud if it gets to that point. And I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't get to that point. In the same way that I was talking about the major policy failures in Spain being a crushing, like soul-crushing challenge to overcome, that would be horrible for Canada. And they're like right there, so of course we would want to help them, and we probably would help them. Like pretty directly, I think. We could just, we'll latch up cables and say, let's jumpstart your country off of ours, and we'll see what we can do. But come on, like this is so on its face. The numbers do not add up. It can't add up. Like the physics is not there to make this a thing that happens. And I say this as an engineer, as a member of the groups of people that are trying to solve these problems to make it possible. I'm telling you, it's the same way where Spain shat a brick just recently because they ran out of electricity and everything collapsed.
Well, don't
This
you
is
know
one
they
of
had
those times where it's
a
not
crazy weather
possible.
event, which they genuinely did have like a 1 in a million kind
Yeah,
of
they had a
weather
black
event.
swan event. It sucks.
Now that
Um,
said, they're kind of
but
happening
but they were
more
vulnerable.
recently, and there is the very reasonable talk of a global pole shift, which kind of seems like it's in the process of happening.
Well,
So,
hold up a second. I'll be right back.
all
Say
right,
goodnight to GF.
no, no worries, no worries. While you're taking off for a moment, I'll actually speak on something else that's happened in the meanwhile. Uh, well, also I guess on the opening topic there, the Shiloh versus Carmelo thing, and people are tired. They're really really tired of being beat down and told how to feel and think, and so you know whatever, more power to you. It is important to smash the state's idols and to take the longhouse and pull a couple of logs out because they can all just go to hell. That's it. Anyway, because we have other things to talk about. This is a really, really interesting one. So let me see if I've got an official release on this one, or if it's just kind of talkery stuff. Not really. Okay, so I'll just read you the Trump tweet about it, or well, I guess it's a truth or what the fuck ever they call it over there. So this is 7:18 p.m. So just shy of over 3 hours ago as of recording on the 4th of May 2025. The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I'm authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative
Okay,
to
so
immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming to our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again. Don't know if you had caught that bit that came out just earlier today.
no,
Yeah,
sounds alright to me.
yeah. So
I mean, I'll say this though. I'll
legally
say
within the
this.
states, but yeah.
I'll say this. I'm glad we did not do that before the Lord of the Rings movies. As extended, excruciating, and and elongated as they have become, you know, I'm certain there's going to be a new 36-hour version of Part One. But I'm glad they were able to go over to the Kiwi area and make that shit happen, and then bug out, and we get to reap the reward of that.
Oh, indeed. Well, and
There's some
realistically,
trade-offs, I think.
what would probably be a thing now is, well, you can do the filming over there, but you're going to have to do the bulk of your filming over here, and it'll probably be like how the
Yeah,
Cars thing is.
I'm sure that the federal government is going to do the same thing it's always done, along with the state governments, and make special exemptions for all their special friends. And it's not really going to amount to diddly or squat, but it is going to cut out some of the let's say some of the shift of the MCU to China. I guess that's the most bluntest way to say that. You know, we don't need the idea that they might go all in on movies with that and push like production over there in any capacity, any significant capacity.
Oh yeah, this doing the majority of your production in Toronto bullshit. No, 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 no.
Yeah,
No, you want places that look like Toronto? There's America's a big place. It's a
we
real,
got
real big place. You want a place that looks
we
like
got we
the
got all the
Canadian
climates.
North? We've got this state called Alaska. You may have heard of.
Hell, go to fucking Fargo.
Yeah, they even talk Canadian there. So
Go to anywhere in Minnesota in the middle of the winter. I mean, they got mountains a little bit further to the east. They got lakes. They got fucking waterfalls up there. Like we got all the land features you need. You even got beaches if you go a little bit further to the east. Head out near Maine.
Yeah, sure enough.
I mean, we got plenty
I mean,
of
you need
different places
tropical.
that you
We
can come
got
here.
we got Guam, and we got
All of
Hawaii.
Florida.
Also, yes. You know, there's options.
Yeah, we got
you need an island paradise? How about the Bahamas?
No, that's not us.
Or not the Bahamas. Shit.
There's the Virgin Islands, right?
Yes.
Or no, that's not us either.
Sorry, my bad. No, yeah, the Virgin Islands. Saint Croix
Oh, go to
and
Puerto Rico.
fuck, I can't remember them all. But either way, Puerto Rico, yeah, also.
Or any of the fucking Keys.
Again, also, yeah, it's pretty much all there. The only thing we're really kind of lacking is like actual jungle, but that's
No, we got pretty good jungles
really.
down in southern Florida.
You do, but they don't look the same as Amazon jungles.
The Everglades? The Everglades looks pretty Amazon, man.
Kind of, but not really. I mean, you could film there and you could dress it up and it'd be fine. But I mean, actually, you can tell the difference. But that's splitting hairs and really is
Look.
minutia that we are.
You're just a racist who's trying to exotify the foreign. When clearly you might need a passport to go to both places. But at least one of them speaks English some of the time. And it's not Spanish you'd hear in the Everglades. It's fucking mountain folk speak. However the hell that happened.
Hillbillies, as it were.
Uh-huh.
But that said, and you know who does speak Spanish? Mexicans. Where am I going with that? I mean, I can only go in one place with that, obviously.
Yeah, they speak Spanish.
Yep. So
Not a huge story.
yeah, that's it. That's the whole story. So anyway, moving on. This is one we have been covering. So Claudia Scheinbaum, the president, she said that no, you can't send your troops down here to take care of the cartels. We're not going to stand for that. I'm somewhat paraphrasing.
That's a power move on her part.
It is. It shows who has the power.
Well, it certainly does.
It's not very much does.
It is as a country, it is a power move to say we will take care of our problems. Now, as a country on our end, the response is, yes, you will, or we will help you. And by help you, we mean invade and get rid of the fucking problem. Because it's getting fucking tiresome. Like, the parts of Mexico that they can no longer control, at a certain point, we might as well just fucking take them. Because if that's where the problem is, and they won't do shit about it, then that's where the problem is, and we're going to do shit about it.
Mm-hmm.
We will rain fucking hellfire on these people, if we have to. I mean, I'm hoping that, as we've discussed in the past, we're hoping that there's a path forward in the same way that we had our rum runners turn legit. You know, we got NASCAR out of that as part of it, but we also got a lot of other businesses.
Sure.
There is a path forward where these people have translatable skills that they can use in other industries. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not all shooting people and doing drugs. There are other skills involved.
I mean, Zelensky's paying top dollar for foreign mercenaries, so at a straight minimum, they could just directly transfer their skills into another market that I believe will probably be closing soon.
That's more applicable. I think that's in my mind, and I think in yours. I think it's more applicable. I think it's more applicable to the people of theirs that are already here that need to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I think Zelensky is a prime candidate for us to promise mercenary reinforcements from these generous people who have showed up here in our country, willing to risk the travel to Ukraine.
I'm down.
Who have been waiting for years, I tell you, years, begging us to flex their skills where they are most useful for us. And that would be in guarding the precious natural resources in Ukraine. from the evil Russians.
Update there, as a matter of fact, too, is that the mineral deal has gone through finally. So
Good.
we might actually see.
I mean, he probably stopped
something
cherry
happen.
picking like a little bitch.
Well, we'll see when it comes time to actually do the deal. But
Stop
the deal is
nitpicking
done,
shit.
as it were.
Well, have they shaken hands yet? Have they signed it?
That's a good question. Let me check.
Because if not, it's not happening yet. And that's the part that's pissing me off. Because it was all but done last time, and then that weasel came over here and spoke to Democrats, and then tried to get more, and he got told to fuck off like he should have.
All right, so let's see. Can I find anything that's
like? I want dried ink on paper and two hands meeting somewhere. Because this shit needs to stop being such a fuss. Like there's so many people who have died, Ukrainian and Russian.
Oh yeah, no, it's
for no fucking reason.
It needs to stop. It needs to stop immediately because this is
the bullshit posturing is kind of
tiresome. And it's really. Oh, okay. Signed on Wednesday, April 30th.
By both parties? Or all three parties?
I've got this out of CSIS.
Okay.
Let's see here. United States and Ukraine signed a long-way to deal. Yep, looks like it is done.
So are we waiting on Russia, or is that a bilateral deal and we're done with it?
That's not a Russia thing. That was just hey, you're going to pay us back for all of this bullshit thing.
Right.
Which they got a lot of paying to do.
Good.
But that's
deal done. Perfect. Perfect. We got so a lot of this involves getting things like rare earths, which are okay. So you know how like processors, we were hitting a bit of a wall about a decade ago. We said, how the fuck are we going to get over this? And then something called the high K gate came out, and suddenly the transistor density went way up again. Those are possible because they use hafnium, which is an important element. And we also use cerium in a lot of our cutting fluids, which is another one of the rare earths. That would be Ce on the table, not like cesium, but cerium. There's a variety of these rare earth metals that are very useful, and if we're able to get them over there, now we have them in this country, but we're not allowed to fucking mine them. And there's tons of them over in China because, of course, there is. And they don't have the competence to purify them properly, and it's a very wasteful process that they use. A very environmentally taxing process that they use in China. Say that.
Oh, and the terms of the deal, by the way, it appears that they have been modified and are a bit more favorable to Ukraine at this time, too. So we aren't taking ownership of the things. Looks like we're getting a future stake, as it were, in good deals.
Fine. So more akin to the deal that Hillary Clinton signed with Russia for the uranium, where they signed over a portion of their production capacity as a futures agreement. In that sense,
and
I guess.
Quick note here, too, as well. I'll include the article here from the CSIS, but it does not include the security guarantees that Zelensky was being such a bitch about.
No, good.
So this is just hey, we need to figure out how you're going to pay us back. And that's...
Very good. I suppose that there was a good faith... I'm supposing that there was a good faith assumption, or good faith verbal agreement that they would continue talks on security assurances, not securities.
No,
regarding the land, the land area in Ukraine versus continued aggression and so on. What I think would be interesting is if we had somehow allowed Russia to cut in on an agreement like this if they returned territory. I think that would have been an interesting way to go at it. This is obviously a future thing. This is not something that would happen now because that would be fucking retarded. But I think that would be interesting. If we find a way to kind of parlay this properly, we could actually push towards stability by getting and look, and if there's no way around it, we can even push for autonomy. just total autonomy to say, look, say 100 years from now, if you guys really feel like being in part of Russia, you can. But until now, or until then, um, you're an autonomous region, and you have to form your own government, and you'll be provided, somehow provide relations from both Russia and Ukraine. And not only does that create a buffer zone, a new buffer zone, which would permit ultimately probably another thing that would cause more aggression, but let's just suppose it didn't happen, could ultimately permit Ukraine to be assumed into NATO. There's a lot of fuckery that I can see coming out of all this, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that these are things that are kind of on the roadmap, at least in my mind.
True enough.
Hopefully, ceasefire is the next step. That's really what we need. Is just no more fighting. Minerals deal to pay us back, and then they're upset about Russia for another 1,000 years, but whatever.
Well, let me just.
Frankly, I think that the half that used to be Poland ought to just go back to Poland, and then the rest of it could be a buffer zone or whatever. But Ukraine does have its own identity now, so I get that, and you can have to respect that.
I think it's this month. They're the Day of Victory or whatever. Is it Victory Day?
Well, there's VE Day.
Yeah,
and,
Victory Day. So that's coming up here in 5 days.
So those have been it's been kicked around, renaming the 2 days
either way,
the
point of that, and why I bring it up, is that Russia has already promised a ceasefire. So we're 5 days out from a ceasefire, and we're a few days out now from the mineral.
That would be
so we could actually see some very interesting movement over the next week.
That would be poetic, wouldn't it? For them to promise ceasefire on Victory Day.
Well, that's already happened.
Well, there you go. That's like I said, it would be poetic.
It will be. It'll be, and that was already on the table. That was like, look, when May Day comes, when Victory Day comes, we're going to do a ceasefire. I think he had said like it was a week or something. Zelensky was griping about, no, it needs to be 30 days. It's like, motherfucker, shut up. Take what you can get.
Yeah. Look, political gripes aside, just this guy's got to start recognizing when he needs to stop while he's ahead. He needs to start recognizing when he has a chip on the board, when he's got the cards, etc. Like he's got to start recognizing this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole suit thing. Why aren't you wearing a suit thing? That was kind of petty. But why are you being a baby back bitch to the fucking guys who are trying to help you? That was 100% appropriate. I'm glad he got his butt kicked out of the White House like that. That was just totally uncalled for behavior.
Yeah, you need to act right. If you're going to be asking somebody for everything.
People keep acting like Trump overreacted. He really, really did not. And even for the small soundbite that was going around, like the 8-minute clip versus the 45 one, even with the short clips, Trump did not overreact at all. He did exactly what you have to do to a kid if they're acting out, because he was behaving.
They tried to pull the Japan bullshit on him again too, where he was with when he was with Abe, and Abe dumps out his fish food, and Trump's like, oh, we're dumping out the fish food, and he dumps out his fish food in a different way.
It's just the fucking good analogy here. You gift your kid a car for their birthday, and then 2 months later they come to you crying about a month later they kind of crush the front quarter of the car, and you need to replace a bunch of shit, and they come crying to you a month after that, say, look, the seats need to be better. Why aren't they leather? It's like, motherfucker, you're still 16. You just got a car. Shut the fuck up. right?
Yeah.
You know, just go somewhere else and be a little bitch. Come back home when you're ready to not be a cunt.
It'd be nice.
It was kind of peak impropriety on the part of Zelensky. You know, and it's not like they haven't given a lot of their own in their own war. A lot of people have died over there. They've spent a lot of their own money. It's just that when they come to us and pretend that it's our fucking war too, and that's not it, buddy. Like, you just don't get to do that, you know. And I get how he tried to pretend that the whole you have a nice ocean comment was not him trying to be a little manipulative shit. But you know, we can see through that stuff, buddy. We're not retarded politicians like you might have over there who keep you in power.
Yeah, I mean, we've got our issues with corruption, but we're actually kind of dealing with them instead of being. Well, I wish I could say instead of being one of the most corrupt regimes in the face of the earth, but we're actually working on it, so that's something.
Well, that's the thing is if they allow a vote for Zelensky, they've also got to allow a vote for themselves. Because if you know, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I very well could be, but if elections are suspended while war powers are in effect, and they have to re-up them every 90 days or whatever, and they continue to re-up them every 90 days or whatever, everyone who's re-upping the war powers is also voting to not have an election for their own seats the entire time that those are in effect, right? That means that yeah. So again, I could be wrong here, and it could be that they just don't have the presidential election. I do not know, and I'm gonna play on my ignorance here because using a mouse is kind of a bitch right now.
I'll get an answer for you while you're discussing that.
Like, that's something that would be really like that was something that kind of smacked me last time we talked about this. I was really curious about, and it's just like it wasn't quite something that, you know, I felt comfortable piecing out loud just at the moment. But like now it seems appropriate. Like, do these people have to go through elections anyway, or is it also their own seats that they are capable of, as the people voting on whether or not to have elections, that would be on the chopping block? It stands to reason that at some point they're going to have a fucking election. They should land on a high note somewhere where they kind of, you know, maybe it'd be a great point with that deal and peace to like say, and now we have elections.
Boy, my friend, not just presidential, not just parliamentary, local, down to your dog catchers, your mayors. Not a single vote has been allowed to be cast since October 29th, 2023.
There you have it. Okay. Now, and it could be that the people are okay with this for right now. I can understand that. I can even get behind that. So look, they got a massive fucking war. This is the way they voted for. This is the way they chose to make their laws. Good for them. And I hope that is what's going on there. I really do.
And currently they are. There is a quote commitment to hold new elections no earlier than 6 months after the martial law is lifted.
No earlier?
No earlier, yes. Not no later.
What's the no later part? Is there one?
Why would there be one of those?
Yeah.
Honk.
That's upsetting. That's the.
Yes. Let me see here.
You know, you give so much faith in a way that they've described that they want to run things, and you just find out that it's so frequent. You find out it's just fucking words.
Well, you know, democracy in action.
Yes. They're defending democracy and defending democracy in the permanent military power state.
Good stuff.
So that begs the question. When do they plan on ending war power time? Yeah, you get the idea. When are they going to go back to normal and then start the counter for 6 months.
That's a great question. That is a really great question.
Sure doesn't have an answer.
I feel that it doesn't. I have a distinct suspicion that it doesn't at all. And since we're talking about war powers and wars and places getting fucked up by them, we should probably mention something very interesting. Now, there was a time when poppy fields needed guarding because we had to get those poppies to the people that needed them. Those people.
I know a couple guys that did that.
Being, pharmaceutical industry. But luckily,
I know a couple guys that had to do that.
Well, yeah, those poppy fields weren't going to guard themselves. The Taliban certainly didn't.
Surprise the shit out of them. Surprise the absolute shit out of them. This is what we're in the military for? That's damn right. Because guess what drugs you're going to be on when you get shot eventually? The ones made from that fucking field.
Oh, and even better, too, you can help make sure that the Sacklers can kill a bunch of West Virginians with opioids. Yeah, buddy, good work. I know those guys are proud of what they've done. Well, anyway, we don't want to speak
Look, now,
veterans.
That was under the brand name Roxycodone, which is totally different from generic oxycodone.
Oh yeah. Well, those are Roxys, not Oxys. That's a very different thing.
Right. It's Roxy's trademark, right. or registered, whichever way it works out for them.
Well, it's like when you're in the really rich neighborhoods, you don't smoke crack, you smoke rock cocaine. There's an enormous difference. There are two very different terms.
I've never heard someone call it rock cocaine.
Well, that's because you don't run in high-class neighborhoods, Craig.
This is true.
I hate to break it to you.
This is true. I do not run in high-class neighborhoods. I drive through high-class neighborhoods.
Well, good thing, because if you're running and you're wearing boots, anyway, that's another thing. So we'll just leave that one lie. We've already talked about how the bikes have got their gas and they're ready to go. So we'll leave it. But back to Afghanistan, actually, because coming out of ace reporter Lord Miles, it would appear. Well, actually, he's just posted.
He's still around.
Oh,
that's kind of interesting.
Oh, he's great, but it's not.
Well, there was the worry for a while.
This is actually from who is this out of? Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, Afghanistan. But who's the organization? Oh, IPC. Okay, so as of today, do we have it up to today? We've got it up to. Okay, yeah, we do. We've got it up to January 2025. So at the Taliban takeover, let's see here, that's going to be about October 2021. Their puppy production was at about 47% total. And now, or last listing, October of last year is something along 25% total. And will you look at that? The Afghans are in a food secure situation. They are actually growing enough food to feed all of their population now. Just had to get rid of a couple of those poppy fields and put some food there instead. How peculiar. Whoever would have guessed such a thing might happen, right?
It's interesting. So, people don't really think of Afghanistan as having like a green area.
Where in actuality, pretty much all of it is. If you can get water.
Well, there's a decent amount of it. There's a good amount of green in Afghanistan. It's just not very.
It's just oppressively hot there, always.
It's kind of scraggly, yeah.
That's just the thing. It's always oppressively hot everywhere there. Just it is.
Yeah, it's not great to be outside. It's kind of like the worst part of Florida summer, but without quite as much humidity. That's the other problem they have.
Yeah.
They do have water. It's just that there's enough to grow poppies, which are really not that needy of a plant. In fact, it's pretty cool. You grow poppies. I don't know because you're allowed to, by the way. you ever grow poppies, there's a certain point before they get to the point where like they're really producing a lot of the other compounds in them, like
Yeah, yeah. You can grow
all
your
the opioids.
poppies. You can harvest your poppies at any time. But if you cut that bulb,
Well,
boy,
no,
you're
the
asking for trouble.
thing is you're supposed to throw out all the chaff too, which I think generally I agree with. Well, here's the thing: is most people are not equipped to turn thebaine into opioids that do not turn your insides into your outsides. Um, so if you didn't know, thebaine, one of thebaine's best side effects is severe nausea, like stupid severe nausea. And it's the primary opioid in most of the poppy fields that are kept, let alone most of the poppies that you can grow at home. Um, there might be various ratios of the other opioids that would be favorable or not favorable, but the primary opioid in there is thebaine, and that has to be processed to turn into other things like hydrocodone.
Well, yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
which is very useful.
well,
Don't
actually,
get me wrong.
the specific point I'm making with regard to this is that I mean,
Well, what
you
I was
can
getting to
actually
is the
just
leafy.
smoke opium, but you know.
What I was getting to is the leafy part of it. Before it gets to the part where the whole plant is like starting to like ramp up its production of those compounds, which happens around when the flower stalk goes up.
Mm-hmm.
The leafy part of it is actually a lot like cabbage or lettuce. And there's a part just before it starts to go too, and you can tell just by bitterness because these compounds are, surprise, surprise, like a lot of pharmaceutically active compounds, really not tasty. They're very bitter. And so, because it's so easy to detect that bitterness at a level below where it's normally effective as an opioid in the body, there's a part before it gets to that level of bitterness where the leaves are kind of like leafy greens. You can actually eat them, and you're not like going to get a high or anything. It's just roughage. It's just salad matter.
Interesting.
But it's interesting that they have enough water to grow a plant like that over there, and the difference that you'll find is that the leaves over there tend to be kind of narrower and less like leafy. And because I've grown them here, I tried to grow some gigantium ones here so I could get like a lot of poppy seeds and make some like traditional Jewish food.
Oh, I see. So you were going for the Elaine to see if they would. Oh, god damn, that is a dated reference. You do get the reference, right?
Was that a Seinfeld reference?
It was to the poppy seed.
Yeah, I thought so.
Or bagels, poppy seed bagels. That's what it was.
That was it. Yeah.
God damn, that's a dated.
No,
reference.
I was gonna try and eat. There's like some poppy seed candies. Obviously, as it'd be nice to like get something I can sprinkle on bagels. And I did use my own poppy seeds. I sprinkled them on bagels. I washed them appropriately too, and it was tasty.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Like poppy seeds, you don't usually think of as having like a flavor. Not really. They actually can have a flavor to them.
Well, lots
And
of things.
I know that I like
kind of
baby my
actually
garden.
do because they've had a lot of their flavor processed out by the time we get to them.
Well, a lot of times it's aging that does most of it.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely the case. Especially
you can get Afghan blue. You can get Afghan blue, which is the typical poppy that's like exported. And by the way, same poppy fields, same poppy plants. You can get like 5-pound bags of that for whatever amount as a culinary import, and they won't bat an eye. And this is where stupid teens do stupid things and make a tea out of it, and will get them, and they kill themselves, which is really sad. But like you can buy tons of poppy seeds. The problem, of course, is like I said, Afghan blue. It comes from Afghanistan. It's not shipped overnight. Like it's not farm fresh by any sense of the wording. So, I know I would go out there and baby my plants. We talked about my garden in previous shows. So I know that like it was probably the fact that I had really good soil, consistent low level watering kind of throughout the day, especially with the Florida heat. Like I got really juicy leafy greens out of these plants that were really tasty. And again, you could tell when it finally got to the point where it was that bitter, and you don't like go, oh god, this is too bitter to eat. Like you just wait for it to get a touch bitter, and you say, okay, that's enough. Don't eat anymore, because the reality is, if you continue eating that stuff when it gets bitter, you don't get high, you get nauseous. That's what's kind of supposed to happen. I'm glad I haven't tried to figure that one out on my own. So not firsthand experience, but reading up on other people who garden this stuff. That's where I even found out you can even eat the stuff to begin with. Is someone saying, be careful if it gets too bitter, you will vomit, and here's how I know. It's like, okay, well, I guess I won't do the stupid.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But yeah, the seeds, you can grow them. I was trying to make gigantium pods, so they can grow to like the size of a softball. Which I was like, oh god, I'm gonna get tons of poppy seeds, and then I guess I had they were probably too crowded or they were in the wrong places. I had a couple of them that were like hanging off the side of my banana plant pot, and it's like, okay, maybe the crowding thing was an issue because like the pods that I got were on a couple of them were like a decent size, like the size of a baseball.
Oh,
but oftentimes like the size of a ping pong ball.
That's a funny thing you mentioned. That I can think of no better venue than the one we have right now than to mention it, and that is, I think it was the 90s or late 80s, but bananas don't taste like bananas anymore. Banana candies taste weird because they taste like what bananas used to taste like. There was a huge...
there was a huge... There's a plague
basically killed... Yeah, I can't remember exactly when, late...
It killed 90% of bananas.
Yeah, and the ones that are left now don't have the same flavor as...
Now, here's the interesting thing. There is a wide variety of bananas that you can go out there and get. The fact that most people will get the dulces or the chiquitas, that's on the supermarkets more than it is on the customer, because you can go out and buy different types of bananas. And I gotta tell you, I really do want to at some point buy and grow some blue javas, because those are supposed to taste and have kind of the texture of vanilla ice cream.
Okay. Sounds
that's really, and they're fucking blue. Huh. On the outside of they have a blue green phase, and then they'll ripen, and they'll kind of start the blue green kind of has a bit of a yellowish tinge, and that's when they're done. I actually had dwarf Cavendish that I was growing here, and I just recently kind of downsized the garden, so those have all gone. The thing that pained me so much this past winter was, I could have just moved them into the garage, but I was wrapping up the degrees. I was just almost done with my dissertation, so I was like, fuck it, I gotta work on this instead. And while it would have taken 20 minutes to save them, I let them go through a freeze, because I had a fucking flower, I was gonna get bananas, and as the thing is and I could even see the small bananas in there. I was starting to grow real bananas, and then they just got wasted by the cold. Totally fucking frozen. So that and the plant was even coming back before I downsized the garden, and that was I was sitting there, in the back of my head, I thought maybe there's a chance, and then it's that's exactly why I should have gotten rid of these a month ago before they had a chance to start sprouting up again, because I don't have the time or the space right now. So I just got rid of them. But it's not like they don't sell more, so later.
Well, on the notes
I have blueberries.
Well, on the notes of frozen wastes, this one is so perfect, delicious. You could even say.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, we're going to be obviously talking about, the most permanent social issues, obviously. How incredibly punk rock we are.
Okay.
No, not us, obviously. We're not punk rock. We're normal guys.
We're metal.
We're
not punk rock, we're metal.
Green Day is punk rock. They are so punk rock, in fact, that they've got their own Slurpee at 7-Eleven. Hop on down there. Get you a punk bunny per clunky.
Here's the thing that kind of here's the cynical side of me is that as you shit on them for this, the fact that you advertise it at all, they should be paying us for that.
Mm-hmm. They should. And as a matter of fact,
that's one of those stories where I'd be petty enough to say, look, you guys owe us money if you want us to advertise the fact that this exists, as we're shitting on you for it.
Truly.
As we're saying this is retarded, because of Green Day, of course, not because of 7-Eleven, to be fair. As we're saying this guy is a retard, and it's hilarious that this is a thing that's been advertised at all. This was a campaign that they decided to go down.
I will include a quick link to something I put together myself, real quick here. As a matter of fact, I'll just throw this in staff chat so you can take a look. But
Mm.
everybody is gonna, they're gonna probably want to put this on a T-shirt if I'm being completely honest, because it's just such a quality meme that I just threw together myself. But I got a nice,
Yes, I saw this indeed.
I got a nice tour picture of the guys from Rage. You know, Tom, Zach, everybody. You know, got their fist up. You know, got the buy our product fist in the air, and you know, I put a nice tag logo on there. Rage against your
Hey
thirst.
now,
Drink delicious Coca-Cola.
it's a FUBU fister, right?
For us and by us. Yes, indeed, sir.
No. You've seen How High before the movie?
That's the one with the plane?
No. That's the one with the guys who smoke a fuck ton of weed, and it's actually a really funny movie.
That didn't help.
FUBU is fuck you by us.
Okay. I may
Sorry, just
have, but there was
the
like there
way
were
the
so
way
many weed
this
movies like in that era
I know, like
that
it as the funny part, the funniest part was as they're called into like the dean's office, and it's this Asian guy from their fraternity or whatever, and he's wearing the sweater and it says FUBU on it, and he says FUBU. He goes, yes, FUBU, fuck you by us. So
yes,
I thought that was pretty damn funny, but it's kind of like you have to watch it.
yeah. But speaking of things you have to watch, I hope everybody has seen the documentary on the events that took place at Alcatraz some years back. I believe it was in the late '90s, early 2000s. You know, there was the terrorist attack
Hmm.
there, and you know the well, obviously it's not a on-scene documentary; it's a reenactment of the events that occurred there. But I joke. The Rock didn't actually happen. I'm
Yes, it did.
sorry.
God damn it!
I know. I just pulled a Santa Claus ain't real on you, and I'm sorry.
I mean, this
That's
is
not
this
what I
is
meant to
this
do.
is the
But
third time this has happened today. That this topic has been raised today. I know I probably primed it by showing you the second time it was raised and then talking about the first. But this is the third ringing of the bell, so to speak. Here,
but that said, I am making a point about Alcatraz because though The
right?
Rock
Because the
might
other
not
side
be
of it.
back in the form of a film or a China
Well,
ship or whatever,
we might get a real good remake out of this.
we very well could
Uh,
because it sounded like it might get a nice refurb. As a matter
it
of
might
fact,
be
I
back in
will
business.
read directly from Donald Trump's post on this because if everyone will remember, Alcatraz was a federal prison for,
It doesn't even need a huge refurb. I
not
mean, it
really.
could
It
use
just
some
needs to be
spit and polish.
modernized and have the plumbing and shit
Well,
going.
that's what I'm saying. Is I don't think the as long as the mechanical mechanisms for those lockups are good and in place, all they really need to do is take some of the known vulnerabilities and retrofit those, like
Oh, fair
preventing
enough.
someone from slinging a bed wheel on a bit of tied, stripped up sheets over onto the lovers.
Oh yeah. Well,
Like put a plate of
there's that or a
plexiglass there
few.
and block it off, right?
Well, there's that, and I mean, there's kind of a few folks that have done a bit of a deep dive on,
Oh yeah,
how you would get out of there. So I'd say that
sure.
they've got a lot of resources available to them to
Oh,
secure
I
the
mean,
facility.
electrify the walls. That's an easy one.
Also yes, and don't forget sharks with laser eyes to swim around it as well. You've got
Of
lots and
course,
lots
and
of
and all the
options
sea
there.
mines, sea
Also,
mines,
mm-hmm,
and then of course you have the large towers out in the sea with cannons pointed directly at the coastline.
also good. Yes, you got to cover your bases. But I'll go ahead and read his post on this, so we can kind of stop joking around a little bit.
Yeah.
That said, though, sharks with laser beams are pretty cool. But anyway, rebuild
Yes.
and open Alcatraz. For too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. When we were a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. That's the way it should. Oh, that's the way it's supposed to be. No longer will we tolerate these serial offenders who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. That is why today I'm directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security, to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz. Oh, enlarged. So that's actually going to be a big deal. Be interesting to see that. But anyway, to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. We will no longer be held hostage to criminals, thugs, and judges that are afraid to do their job and allow criminals who came into our country illegally. The reopening of Alcatraz will serve as a symbol of law, order, and justice. We will make America great again.
Oh man! Imagine this. Imagine leaving Alcatraz proper on the island, just like kind of alone, and then building on the other half of the island. But then building it out towards the ocean with giant concrete pillars that go down to bedrock through the ocean, and just building out enough capacity to hold 1 million people. Like a fucking concrete hotel of doom that you can see from the California coast. Just that's where all the worst people sit. That's where all the people who used to run California are.
Indeed.
Imagine being able to, just tall enough that you can see it from California and big enough that it can hold a sizable number of people. To the point where we could rival fucking El Salvador.
Well, I mean,
that would be
we've got a guy that knows how to build those things. And
right?
We're on good terms with him. So, maybe we could do a little bit of international cooperation. And,
yeah.
I
got to redo my hand, so I'm going to go get the stuff from the kitchen. And then when I get done with that, I've got to hop into bed. So that's...
No worries.
Roughly the time horizon here. I just realized we're at 42.
Fair enough. And I guess since we've spoke about Israel previously, you should probably mention there's a new bill going through, which any actually legitimately reasonable person should not support, because it's pretty patently ridiculous. So what's going on here? New bill that's headed to... I don't know how far it's made it, actually. Let me see. Which bill number is this? It's H.R. 867, the IGO Anti-Boycott Act, which has been sponsored by Representative Mike Lawler. And I don't know who else. Anyway, what it'll do is can provide fines of up to $1 million and prison sentences up to 20 years for Americans that participate in the boycott of Israel or its settlements if the boycotts are endorsed by any international body, for instance, UN, EU, I don't know, like a Soros NGO, what have you. But that's not really cool. Not really fucking cool at all, because you need to be allowed to voice your dissent with any ally, enemy, what have you. It's patently ridiculous. And thankfully, we have folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, other big names that are speaking out against this, because it is, quite frankly, an attack on free speech. Whether you love Israel, whether you hate Israel, whether you don't give a fuck about Israel, we can't put these kind of restrictions on people's speech. It is an untenable situation. So, there you go. Call your reps. Tell them to be voting no on H.R. 867. And
I got to go ahead and throw a word on this one. That one chaps my ass. Just fucking unreal. It doesn't matter if you... And I can tell you, it kind of, it's one of those things where it kind of hits home.
Local Jew here.
Yeah, local Jew here. This is bullshit. Do not fucking pass this.
Yeah. It's an ugly...
Again, they can... The point, with the whole, especially with the whole college campus shit show that was going on under Biden, they should be allowed to protest. They should be allowed to be little shits. They should be allowed to say the dumb stuff. But when it comes to doing something like violence or burglary or so breaking and entering, taking over buildings, refusing to fucking leave, assaulting cops, assaulting people on campus,
if people are actually
blocking students from going to where they're supposed to go, all that shit's criminal activity. We can all agree that that's stupid. And that should be illegal. because it already is. Thank God you've sorted that one out.
It was the whole time.
When it comes to saying something stupid out loud, who gives a fuck?
Right.
It's free speech. You have to be able to maintain free speech.
There are limits. I should say that's right.
There are limits. Like, for instance, if someone's passing around child porn, go after them. Like, that's so simple.
Democrat politician that was recently
it's like
arrested
certain judges that were arrested, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
anyway. That's recent too. So anyway, but like BDS, which again I have to say is execrable shit. Like, the boycott, divest, and sanction movement is run by a bunch of terrorists. It funnels now the part of it that it should be illegal writ large is where they funnel money back to their terrorist brethren across the seas. That is materially aiding a terrorist organization. That is already illegal. We do not need another law. We do not need people curtailing free speech over this shit. If anything, making them say things in coded language will make it more difficult to trace the money to the people that it's going to, so if we can't find out whether or not they're sending money to terrorists, how the fuck are we going to charge them for that? Maybe we should just start enforcing the fucking laws we already have, which is exactly how we fixed a lot of the border issues we've been having. You notice we were able to take existing laws and leverage those and basically solve the illegal immigration crisis that we were having at the border. Now, we've got a lot of work to do on that, but the part where they were flooding in, we kind of slowed that down. Like, a lot. It's basically like 95% reduced, right? So, same deal here. Flex existing laws to go after the problem. And that's the part where they do things like funnel money from here to terrorists. That is a bigger issue than some Yahoo shouting through a megaphone on campus.
And the thing about it is, too, any of these infringements on our natural rights, they all start somewhere and they don't end there. They never, ever do.
Yeah, good intentions, I get it, but that's the fucking road to hell, man. Pay boom. We cannot do this. Cannot give up our fucking rights for a couple of comforts. Those short-term comforts will quickly be addressed elsewhere as huge pains in the ass.
You hear that, Germany? You hear that?
Yeah. Don't fucking get rid of AFD. Do not get rid of that pressure relief valve. Like, that is going to seriously fuck that country up if they do that. It'll go full-on Weimar and collapse in this decade.
Or,
if not this decade, early next one. Like, look, we're almost to the 30s again. Can we not have an exact 100-year repeat? Please, for the love of God.
All I'm saying is, you get.
We basically had a World War I in Afghanistan and Iraq.
You get.
Look, we're almost to World War II.
You get what you get when you ask for it. Sometimes you don't ask for it politely, but you still get what you get. Speaking of getting what you get, let's since we're getting near the end of the night, we should probably throw in a couple of more happy news bits here. So I've got a great one.
Please do.
That I know a man by the name of Robert is going to be happy to hear. There's a man who's no longer with us. Bless his heart. John, this one's for you, buddy. This one's for you. The Trump administration is planning, quote, significant personnel cuts at the CIA and other major U.S. spy units.
Do it.
Has anybody here seen my old friend John?
Get her done, man.
Glad
now look, it's not that these places don't have their place as far as the intelligence community. It's that they just did something like what was it? Expend.
You don't cut out part of the tumor.
15%.
You don't cut out part of the tumor and leave part of the tumor still in the body.
What was the percentage of the FBI that they had put on the January 6th thing?
Oh shit!
It was some stupidly large amount.
I could be wrong, but I mean, right? I thought it was like 60%, really.
I thought it was like 50. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter.
It was a very
exact
notable percentage of them either way.
It was a double-digit percentage. It was at least a double-digit percentage. It was too many. It was several thousand FBI employees. Like, that is disgusting.
To say the least. So, absolutely a step in the right direction because, well, as my good friend John, to quote an old song, once said, "Shattered them to 1,000 pieces and scattered them to the wind." By God, I'd love to see it. So, again, steps in the right direction. On that
Well,
note,
it remains to be seen how it goes, but we'll get there.
that it does. That it does. And we've got the Texas bill. That's it's not as bad as some people are saying, but it's also
Oh,
got its
come off it.
own.
That's fucked up.
But it's got lots and lots of baggage. A lot of people are saying it's
I'm
like
sorry, but
kind of an end of the world
this is
thing.
why
It's not,
Florida's
but
better.
it's bullshit.
This is why Florida's better.
Yeah.
Fuck Texas.
So long and
I don't know
short,
if you heard me shout it from outside the room.
Yeah, I know for sure. So the long and short of it is they just passed a bill that requires any digitally altered media that is used by campaigns or campaign groups that have spent over $100 on political ads to be labeled and disclaimed. If not, they can face a year in prison. I don't like this. I genuinely
fucking
don't
memes.
like this. It's like,
You have to register your fucking memes like a fucking firearm. How about no?
Yeah. Come on, Greg. What are you doing, Hot Wheels? This is...
I'm sorry, but like you guys,
What?
this, as a state, you can get guns so correct, then you can fuck up on speech this badly. I don't buy it. Like, who was the dipshit who moved in from California and said, you know what we need in this country, this state, more regulated speech?
Austin, but you know.
Yeah, I know. Like, come on. Like, seriously, this is fucking beyond. How do you sign that bill? How do you fucking sign that bill?
Well, you just do it. Just fucking do it because you don't care, really. But
I cannot wait for this to be challenged in court.
Yeah,
I fucking cannot wait.
It,
That is an automatic fail.
It should probably fall even before it gets up.
That's a summary judgment.
That should probably be shut down by like a district court judge, I'd say. In all likelihood.
Man, you mean one of them might be fucking useful?
Every now and then. Every now and then.
That is just like, that's the other thing, is district courts. Like, I think that what Trump really needs to do is, this is something I said several episodes back. It's something that, this is something that's floated around elsewhere, but the injunction bonds, those need to be like strictly enforced, and they need to be applied promptly, because the idea that you can file an injunction and not put a cash amount on it,
oh yeah, this is going to cost
as
us
a
this
guarantee.
much money, so just go ahead and cover the cost. We'll do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a potential $1 billion loss or $1 trillion loss to the country, I think that moreover, the judges should be held personally liable, as well as the litigants. I would take
no issue with that, but you're going to have a hard time convincing judges to go forward with it.
Because I think that if they're going to go ahead and follow through on, and they could be like, it could be a percentage. You can even put a cap on it, like $100,000.
Like bail, you only have to pay 10%. There you go.
Put a percentage on it, and it could even have a cap on it of like $100,000, something reasonable, or make it like 1 year's salary. I think it's just ridiculous that we haven't had that, and that is a rule that has been selectively used. I think that the federal government should be able to just step in, because it is their purview for this ruling, or for this kind of rule rather. They should be able to step in and say, look, because of the preponderance of frivolous injunctions that have been imposed, all of them, period, right now, must have a GAO-backed number attached to them and a corresponding bond issued for an injunction. These are preliminary injunctions, meaning the hearing hasn't happened yet. These are not ruled injunctions where it's happened, and it's silly, and they treat them as an emergency so they can get these preliminary injunctions, and the activist judges kind of roll right in with it. I think if they had their hands tied to it, where not only were they required to see this number in front of them, but then required to actually look at it with wider eyes because their own fucking finances are attached to it, that would get them to start doing things a little bit more prudently. And that's fine where you can say, well, this needs to be expedited then, and it might bump other cases. Sure. That's the judgment call of the judge. It's the whole fucking reason they're there in the first place. If they need to expedite the hearings so they can get these things done quicker, that's what everyone would want anyway. Everyone except for the people who are doing the litigation to stall the administration.
You mean
Like
if you're
bringing these lawsuits,
trial, Greg?
if you're bringing these lawsuits, in principle, you should want them to be resolved quickly. But obviously, if you're a litigant who's petty and you're just trying to fuck up the current admin, you don't want it to go quickly. You want it to go painfully slow with this preliminary injunction fucking up the works the entire time. Enough.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's toddler behavior.
People are very tired of many, many things. This being just one amongst the list of things that people have grown tired to the point of not accepting.
Yeah, it's funny. So I had this is now months old history, but I had that buddy of mine listen to a couple episodes, and he said his text back to me, and I guess I had been yelling a little more than normal in the one episode. He said, "You sound so angry." It's like, sure, I could admit that. Like, it's we talk about some of these things, and it's just some of this stuff is as fundamental as you should be feeding your kids, kind of like stupid obvious stuff.
Or like you
and
shouldn't be stealing from some ladies' kids, for instance.
Or like, no, what I mean is it's like, and I'm talking about like the toddler-esque behavior of the federal fucking government and certain employees within it.
Yeah, speaking of stealing from your kids, right?
Right. So, like, just some of this stuff is just so fucking straightforward. Like, you wouldn't tolerate this from a babysitter. Why are you tolerating it from the nanny state that we've allowed to fucking flex into existence?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
The whole boycott, illegal boycott thing. It's like, look, I understand there's like the whole idea of an organized effort behind it. Like, I get that that's a thing, but again, the real problem isn't the fact that they're speaking or choosing whether or not to buy something. That's something people are going to do regardless. If you make it illegal to boycott something, there's already choices on the market, pal. Like, it's not how it works.
Well, the thing about it is, as we've said here before, many times, just to quote the old saying, when you cut out a man's tongue, it certainly proves something, and it's not that you are willing to hear him out.
Yeah.
So,
and the other
right or wrong, you have made him right in the eyes of your enemies. So, congrats.
Well, I think that another phrasing of that would be, if you cut out a man's tongue, it'll keep wiggling.
Yeah. Or, you might end up with a Barbra Streisand situation. Either way, it doesn't really work out well for people anymore, now that we've got pretty good communication networks.
I mean, BDS has been an issue for a while. And it's silly. Again, it's silly that we keep running into the same stupid thing. It really is not the part where they might convince someone to boycott, divest over here. The sanctioning part is the government level, and that one, what a brotherfucker, right? So, like, that's kind of self-correcting in that at the government level, the whole sanctioning issue. That, our strongest ally, that's not going to be a big problem for us over here. That's more of an issue over in Europe. For instance, like Ireland, like we were talking about last week. So, the divestment part, that, I think, if there's actually going to be anything to say about that, it might fall under torturous interference. If you're going to start interfering with the business of two companies, and you do that based on lies, it's a free country, free market, but that comes with responsibilities. And again, we already have laws. We should just use them.
Oh, speaking of laws and responsibilities, and since we are trying to kind of close out the night with some good news, we should probably mention that, the Department of Justice is looking into a bit of legal malfeasance, actually. You'll never
Oh.
guess. You'll never guess. It would appear that. Oh, wait, that's not that one. Okay, well, this is actually cool too. But this is a different one. Shit, I'll get that one too. Oh, we got a couple of good stories here. So this one, DOJ is putting an investigation into Mary Moriarty, which that name should ring a few bells. She's one of the Soros DAs.
Oh, oh,
Yes.
oh.
So that's
Go get them.
yes, indeed. The other one, there it is. There it is. Where's the person that's launched it? Oh, come on. I know somebody has put together a case on this. Goodness, I can't find it. Well, I will try to. But either way, there is apparently an investigation that has just been launched into Ilhan Omar and her
Yes, there is.
and her usage of the systems of governments that are.
So, as I said before, immigration fraud,
mm-hmm.
marriage fraud, tax fraud.
Yeah.
Among other things that have been added to that list include things like perjury, which basically was part of the whole fraud scheme to get in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a slew of other bits and bobs in there, but the big ones, those are the big highlights, is immigration fraud, marriage fraud, tax fraud, perjury. This is at state and federal levels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she's managed to escape a lot of this merely by calling people racist, mind you.
Yep.
Her and her ilk have basically just said, sorry, not her ilk, her camp, I should say it like that. Her and her camp have largely gotten around this by just howling racism. Not working anymore, guys. It's just, by the way, that card has been way overplayed in so many areas, and it's really not going to work right now. I wish you all the best as far as how you're going to stick that landing.
You could even say her camp of saints. Had to, sorry.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of wild that they thought this was going to be a winning strategy in perpetuity, and I can see how they might think that. We had the whole summer of love, the calling everyone racist got her somewhat excused for saying that we deserve 9/11. And some things happen there, that kind of shit.
Now,
this lady is so kind of
she's been given all the rope in the world to
wide berth.
So
she's been given.
I think it's about time that that rope gets tied. Pulled tight.
She's been given wide berth to make the bed she can go get fucked in.
Yeah, by her brother. Well, we can't say, but it's
no. Hey now. Ex-husband. Okay.
Fair.
Ex-husband.
Okay. Yes, indeed, she has moved on.
She got him his citizenship. She's moved on.
Yeah.
Now, the funny part about that, if memory serves, that was to get UK citizenship. But I'm going to go ahead and let the whole thing play out in media before I start, talking out my ass on that. I'm certain there's going to be better sleuths out there who have kept up on it over the years better than I ever could, and it'll be better for them to do that than me.
Oh, and speaking of media in Britain too, we should probably talk about this one because there's something very interesting that happened. Not too long ago, there was this Netflix documentary about a young white incel boy.
The one that was modeled based off of the real story of a not white boy.
Yes, of a not white boy that just killed some white girls because they didn't want to have sex with him, and that'll happen sometimes. And
remember, that was Keir Starmer's premiere video. Everyone needed to see that cultural masterpiece.
It was. Then they all needed to really get in on it, and
everyone needed to self-reflect and
important thing, because of this one boy and these two girls.
Yeah, there was some video that Lisa was making a funny about earlier. Is Keir Starmer going to make sure that the entire country watches this one?
Well,
because he's scheduling a sit down with his his own children to watch this.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. There is this new one, and it's super.
Yeah,
It affects a lot more children. It does.
uh,
Some 14,000 young girls or so, give or take.
yeah.
So there's this new documentary out here, and
But this one would be like an actual documentary, not like a mockumentary or
yeah,
adapted for present year kind of documentary.
correcto. It's by a lady by the name of Anna Hall. It's a 5-star reviews so far, and it follows people who actually lived through this. So it's not even really a dramatization like this other story. What is it I'm talking about? Well, if I haven't been clear enough by my hints, it's called Groomed. Groomed, a national scandal. And if that doesn't
Yeah,
tell you what it's about, well, then I've included a link to the article. And you can
and
read
welcome to the jungle,
all
man.
about it because you should know full and well. This specific one just follows, 330 young girls that were groomed and
Out of
raped.
like the 15,000, I think it was, right?
Yeah, at a minimum, yes.
Yeah,
So,
this is back when the Rotherham investigation was first. So there's a guy I follow. I can't remember his fucking name right now, but I've been following him for over a decade. And he was talking about the whole Rotherham thing back in like 2012, when the first report kind of came out
well,
and really
Tommy
kind of
Robinson's been
smacked
talking
things.
about it for forever. I mean, talk like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
will about
But
him, yet
there's a guy with like a yellow avatar who I also followed through on the whole Gamergate thing like in 2014. But before that, I remember we were mutuals, and he was talking about he's been shouting about this for that I'm aware of for like the better part of like 13 years. In
mm-hmm.
better part meaning like most of the things I see him post on X or on Twitter as it was
And it's been happening
are
for a
about
little longer than
this.
that. From what I understand, about 2008 is when this
Yeah,
kind of really started kicking off.
well, it's when they started to like not just pay attention, but like to say, hey, that's specifically wrong. Why are you doing it, and how long has this been going on? Because it was going on for like a couple decades before that, since fucking like the 80s. Just kind of let this shit happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God
In
forbid
the egregious,
someone call me a racist. Oh, no.
right, that's the climate that they were operating under, and the egregious shit like arresting the drunk 13-year-old girls who just got fucking raped instead of the
Yeah, had
Pakistani
alcohol
rapists that they were
poured
stuck
down
in the
their
apartment with.
throats. Yeah, yeah.
So it's disgusting shit. I'm glad that it's getting the attention it's getting. What I really hope that happens after that is every single motherfucker, every single fucking one of them that was involved gets their ass named for the public to see. I don't want any of these assholes able to hide. This is the kind of shit where I think it's like the end of Inglorious Bastards. Carve this shit into their skin. Not a damn person should be able to look at them and not see that they were part of this. These names should be family names and cursed. Because this was a pogrom on the children of the UK.
Well, not only the individuals
And I don't
responsible,
use that
but the
language lightly.
individuals
This is like,
responsible as well.
I don't use this lightly because this is the exact same kind of shit that these people in the Middle East did to the Mizrahi. The Jews that had to flee the rest of the Middle East and go to Israel. It's the same exact kind of shit. So, like, this is behavior that needs to be stomped on. That's the only language they understand, and it needs to be absolutely obliterated. Cannot this kind of savagery cannot be allowed into the civilized world. We cannot just turn our heads and accept it
Nope.
because it's only encouragement.
When
We
you
can't shame it out of them.
14th century people, you get 14th century problems.
You cannot shame this out of a culture that specifically approves of it. They're over there doing that to their kids because that is what they're allowed to do. They are permitted in their culture and faith to do that. These are infidels, they're allowed to do that. So they do it. The police didn't touch them, so they got implicit approval to do it.
Well, not only that, too, in their culture, this is specifically a way of showing conquest. So you're just letting them conquer you and
You
take
see,
your people as slaves, quite
and I'll put it
literally.
like this. I'll put it like this. In Christianity and in Judaism, people who are non-believers are still considered people. In Islam, everyone who is not a Muslim is subhuman. You are like an animal, and that is why you're allowed to be treated like an animal. And that's why they would just as soon rape a little white girl as they would a goat. And I'm not just not being culturally insensitive about that. That's just like that's the culture that was imported. And not every Muslim's like that. There's modern Islam is not like that. But when you import the fucking radicals and you let them do this shit without punishment, it will continue until you finally fucking punish it.
And the big thing about it
And
is,
you cannot just punish the behavior in these people. You have to punish the enablers because those enablers
that's
will
the
just
point
feel just as justified later on. They'll let it happen again if you allow them to. You got to get them out of power. You got to name them. You got to shame them. You got to put them in fucking jail.
I mean, I wouldn't mind him getting nice new suits of tar and feathers in the traditional style, but
Sure. Actually, frankly, I mean, this is so beyond the pit. Like, here's the thing. This is a question that should be posed to children when they finally learn about the kind of the horrors of our long history, our long recorded history. How do you punish? If say we caught Adolf Hitler, say we caught him, we brought him to the Hague, we actually put him up in trial. How do you punish a man like that? I mean, because there's going to be a point where like there's a number of people killed, where suddenly it kind of passes from well, we should just kill him to what the hell can we do to this guy that would be a reasonable punishment for this many deaths.
you could firebomb Dresden and kill a bunch of innocent people. That might make a good statement.
Well, that's different because that was part of war. Save the war's over. We've got the one guy. We got a collection of people. But like we got like the guy who did it.
I've got a solution. What we'll do is we will tell the Russians to have your way with all of the German women. Now that the war's over, enjoy it. Destroy them. That would be one way of doing it.
Again, without going into the weeds here.
Without. Okay, gotcha.
We got the guy. This again. So we're talking like to school kids. So even, I mean, admittedly high school. Like, but bear with me here. What is it you can do to punish someone like Adolf Hitler? Or say we caught him and brought him to justice in the West instead of Iraq. How do we punish a guy like Saddam Hussein? How do we punish these people who have done brutal things to their own people or to other people? How do we? At what point is the scale so large that punishments kind of lose their meaning and become more or less symbolic? Because it's not like it's going to be punitive.
Well, I guess if we're to take the current situation of the world into
what comes up next year?
Give them many billions of dollars.
What comes up next year is okay. How do you punish the people who allowed thousands of little girls to get raped, assaulted, beat up, drugged, killed by a bunch of savage, feral fuckers from the other side of the planet that were imported
to put it in the politest of terms, the very politest of terms, Middle Eastern warriors who have come over to conquer your land.
Again,
to put it in the kindest of terms.
How do you punish the people who did the actual acts? How do you punish the people who are responsible for allowing them to happen in the first place? By importing them and then excusing them and not punishing them.
You treat them exactly the same. You treat those two groups with exactly the same level of respect. That's your first point. That's one that I'm sure we can agree on wholeheartedly.
I mean, I didn't. So when I was stating this out as a question, I was stating out as more or less an open question because it's one of those things where it's a scale issue. Like you have some mass murderer and he's killed like 12 people. We put them on death row. We give them the death penalty. They're dead. Whatever. Say they killed 30 people. What about like 100? Say it's 1,000, 10,000. That scale we're getting to now is tens of thousands is on the order of how many little girls were fucked with. I mean, there's not going to be a one guy, but there's going to be enough guys where we can like point to them,
I can
right?
actually quote something that is incredibly pertinent, and as you said, sir, we are metal. So I'm going to pull this one from old Dave Mustaine and Megadeth. When you
All
kill a
right.
man, you're a murderer. Kill many, and you're a conqueror. Kill them all, and you're a god. Which, yeah,
I think there's a couple of levels in the middle there that we're missing. That probably
not
are more
from the
like the happy
song.
medium we're looking for.
Well, not from that specific song, but
Well, not. I know that not from that song. I'm just saying, like, there's probably a couple extra levels we can squeeze in there.
yeah, in
Um,
reality there are. But I'm quoting music, so it is what it is.
that would like be more of the reason, that more of the level and reasonable response we're talking about.
But I mean, that just
I
plays
mean,
into what I was saying, though. I mean, we have a
I mean,
conquering
there's the
tribe
kill them
that has
all
come
part,
over here
yes,
to conquer.
yeah, and so here's the other side of it. We have to find a punishment and a method of punishment that is at a comparable so the compromise here is what we don't want is a lasting hatred that will cause an external conflict. Because think of it like this: you've just been told that no, you were not seeing things, you were being lied to, and you were being fucked with unreasonably when you were angry at these heinous acts that were definitely happening, and here's the evidence, and here's all the shit that was done to prevent you from knowing this over decades. If I was a Brit and I was told this, and say like anyone in my extended family lost a kid over this or had a kid go through that, if I had like a cousin who went through that, et cetera,
Gary Plausch.
that would make me. Well, you see, the problem is that at like a country scale, that's the problem. That needs to be
that's what they
avoided.
need, and that is what they need, because the people.
No. You're missing the country. I'm not talking about UK. That's what I'm saying. Is we don't need.
Well, no, that the country in particular doesn't matter.
We don't need the UK to turn into Gary Plausch and murder Pakistan. That's what I'm saying.
That would be funny, but actually, that's a whole other thing. India might.
Well, yes.
So yeah, there's
but
that. But we don't need to.
What I'm also saying here is that the UK and Pakistan are both nuclear powers, and what we don't need is for the anger in the UK at the specific Pakistanis amongst other people from that region. So not just Pakistan, there were others that were involved. But we don't, since they're primarily Pakistani, what we don't want is that kind of anger at that group in the UK to turn into a global conflict, because there is a real risk of that being the case.
Well,
with how serious this is.
Well, I personally have advocated, the restoral of more classical, what would you call it? Not imprisonments, but more classical methods of
meting out justice.
Yes, yeah, and equal punishments for equal crimes, and
sure.
In this case,
very Talmudic of you.
Well, I'm a good.
No, seriously, like in the real sense, because that is the whole eye for an eye thing is.
Makes the world go blind, but there's going to be one man with one eye left, and so he's
yes, and that's the guy who's king. Yes,
right. Yeah. So with that said, I think that draw and quartering needs to we need to make it great again.
Well, there's that one fucking guy who's going to get killed for the first time in since the 1960s. I can't. What state was that? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter right now. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's the same kind of point we're talking about right now. But it's the thing is it's one of those scenarios. It's so the scale is the issue. The number of people involved is so large.
Is the thing, because.
Well, I get it, but
something absolutely horrifying. You need to shock the conscience of these people.
At that scale, that to go down that road, the issue is when do you stop? Because part
But
of
when
that
you've
road
gotten all of the
is
guns,
launching
and by
nukes to
that
Pakistan.
time, well, think about it this way: by that time, each individual will be providing 4 different examples, depending on strength of pull, that can be posted about, Rotherham, for instance, so that there will be these easily seen
Yeah, but
reminders.
How many people in Karachi are going to be looking at that when they're trying to scam people in the U.S.? I'm just saying. The impact, you see, the brutality that you might suggest in the UK
Mm-hmm.
is not going to appear as brutal to the people in Pakistan.
Well, no, but
What you
they'll
might
understand
do
that
is
language.
send all of them. What you might do is send all of them to the same place in Pakistan and then bomb that place. That would get a message
Could
across.
that also would?
But that's still starting a war. So that's the thing. Is I'm
And
saying
see what
it's
I
a scale
with
issue.
my solution here. It's not a worldwide solution. It's really only a Britain solution, but it is a Britain solution. You're going to have guys. They're going to come by and be like, "Oh, hey, wasn't that Ahmad?" And be like, "Oh, yeah, that was," and he did the thing. And then, "Oh, hey, there's other part of Ahmad. There's the third part. There's the fourth part of Ahmad." And then they're like, "Oh, right, right. Well, I like being a person that is in one piece, so I'm gonna not do that."
Oh, you mean
Just
like the
saying,
anime?
just saying. But anyway, we've
Well, what I
done
was
this
going to say here
ugly old rabbit hole
is
for a dang minute.
well, what we should make clear as we depart from this subject, of course, is that when we're talking about these Pakistanis, we're talking about not them all, which is something that UK would also have to be careful about, not running down that road. But is what it is at some point. Um, but the ones who did the raping and the killing and the drugging
And the enabling.
and all the assaults and the enabling. That's the thing is, it's an unspoken thing over there where a lot of that community knows somebody who either
Mm-hmm. Oh, and
did one of those
I
acts
don't
or
care
knows somebody who
what
did one of those acts.
I don't care what shade or hue or tone of the individual. If they enabled this, they need to be made to pay.
Yeah,
And that's
that's the bottom line.
uh-huh. That is the bottom line.
They got to go. I mean, and again, like it's a scale issue. You got to figure like there's got to be a punishment that meets the scale, and the scale has got to be all of them.
Hmm?
But how like it's the problem is when you have a population that did this that's on the order of a small island country, it's really a big problem.
Oh,
They let this happen. If they let this get to such a big fucking problem,
quite monumental. Quite. And we know what we need to
it's
do.
just so,
We need to
it's
move
gruesome.
on from this. We're getting to the end of the night. We've already
Yeah,
run long. So,
one last story before I go here. Go ahead. Pick a good one. Pick a winner.
actually, we'll go with that. But first, we need to calm down and get into like a chill, lo-fi kind of mindset. And
Right.
and to do that, I am going to provide a link that is still live at this very moment for whenever you.
Oh, last time I looked at it, it was at 1.9 million people watching it concurrently.
Well, sir, I think you need to double that number because it's at 3.8
I'm
million. It
sure.
has been running for
I'm sure it's larger.
48. Oh, okay. It did finish. It ran for 46 hours and 18 minutes.
That should. Why would they stop it?
So,
Fuck it. No.
so that said, you can tune in at any time, and you can get yourself a nice lo-fi MAGA vibe. It'll be right there and available. So we'll put that up for everybody so that you can get into a chill mindset, a comfy place, as it were, and all that good stuff. So now let's throw us out one last fun one. A robot went insane in China and tried to kill everyone. No, I'll throw a link to that because it's a crazy video, but that's actually not the one. The one here is actually something interesting out of California. There's a new injunction that's been placed that will be allowing folks like you and me and most of you listeners to apply for a California carry permit. It's a preliminary injunction that's been brought in the CRPA versus Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And when those injunctions are given, they are given under the understanding that the plaintiff will probably succeed in their case. So what this likely means, to put it into a super short story, there's been a suit against California and how they are absolutely draconian and all over the board in how they issue their concealed carry permits. It's made its way
Yeah,
up, and
like having him at all.
mm-hmm, and
Sorry.
no, yeah, no worries. It's made its way up to district court, and well, it's looking like California is not going to be able to stand, especially with things like Bruin and EPA versus West Virginia. They just don't have that authority anymore. They never did, but now it's official, and so things are looking maybe kind of interesting. I might have a reason to go visit California by crikey.
Well, I already have 3 fantastic reasons. My brother and his 2 wonderful daughters.
Oh, there you go.
And I have some friends over there otherwise, but nothing like compelling. At that point, like family is family and all, but like my friends, we could like find a midway point to meet. Like Texas would be fine.
Sure.
As long as we had licensed memes.
Right. Make sure they're all registered. Make sure you don't want to share your memes there. You want to know concealed is concealed.
Motherfucker, that's like one of those things. Like I made fucking jokes about bringing unlicensed memes to the UK, and then Texas of all fucking states does this shit.
Texas.
God, I'm glad I live in Florida.
Oh, Greg.
You see, I say this shit as I'm about to hop onto the job search. Like I gotta be over in fucking Freeport, south of Houston, with illegal
Austin,
memes on my computer.
I hope you find Austin to be a very accommodating city.
I actually also the last SOR conference I went to was in Austin.
I'm actually only like fucking 40% joking, because Austin is the new Silicon Valley, kind of.
Yeah, it is, but it's also like the beachhead of California.
It is the new Silicon Valley
in Texas. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like the Silicon Valley part is a double-edged sword because it's California.
It cuts both ways.
Like it's got to produce though. Now Spaceport, Texas, Space-Based Texas, rather.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a great another one. Starbase is an actual incorporated city as of just a few days ago now, actually. So that's a fun one for us to.
Now I'll say this: I went ahead and left a minor correction on Elon's post about this on X, because he said one shovel started all this, and there was the 3 of them in a row with their shovels full of dirt.
That is true.
And the guy's hilarious, and he's a brilliant person.
You would expect an autistic guy to get the details.
Right. What the fuck?
Elon, buddy. Do you have
I have my ADHD. I have my ADD moments, man. I have my ADD moments, and that would be like, that's the kind of bonehead mistake I might make if I'm too excited about a phrase. It all started with the 1. Let's do it, and then it's a picture of 3 of us, and I would go, "Oh, I fucked that up," but then I might quote it and say like, "Where 1 is great, 3 is better," or something goofy like that. No, it's just, it started with a shovel. Which one?
Truly.
I make a goof about this. My mother, actually, when she was running a hospital in town here, they built a new, kind of like a whole new section on the other side of the road, and I saw the shovel that she used to break ground on that in her office a few times. I get it. It is entirely ceremonial, and I understand the significance of it. But at the same time, it's just like, come on, man. Of all the times, like, to crop out your friends. Or hell, ask Grok to do it for you. Of all the times to have that moment, like, just focused on you.
Well, speaking of having Grok do things, here's a really quick little story. There isn't any.
It got recorded, man.
Grok is going to be running the algorithm for Twitter going forward.
X. If it ran Twitter, that would have been better. But
call it whatever you like. But yeah, it'll be run by.
I'm like a huge fanboy of Elon's by any stretch. I like the guy, but I'm not like a huge fanboy. It's X, man.
Yeah, whatever.
It's Twitter has had its time for grieving. It's dead.
Yeah, call it what you like. I kind of don't care.
I mean, largely I don't either. It's just funny.
It is, actually. But with that, we are, kind of running a little late here. So let's close this out with with 2 fun last ones. So this is a terrible, terrible tragedy. The United States is No, wait. United States. No, United Nations. Wah, is running out of monies. Oh,
What
no.
happened? What happened, huh?
Wah, wah.
What
Also,
happened? They had all the money. What happened?
who can say, man? Who can say? It just maybe they left it in the basement of the World Trade Center or something, and then something
Did
happened.
they leave it in USA or something?
Who can say? Yeah, it's
Oh, you know,
somehow
funny. Speaking of the World Trade Center and Oklahoma bombing, um, so so my last PT appointment I went to, my fucking tire blew out, like pretty damn close to it. So I was able to get there, do PT and everything, and I had to wait for AAA afterwards. It's just it's just shoot the shit with this guy, and we got on to like talking all kinds of craziness, and you know how I go about these things. I want to ramble,
sure.
and we got to the point where I explained to him what info is. And it's like, it's that easy? I said, yeah, man. So they they do that shit all the time for blasting rocks and whatnot. But I tell him what it is. He's like, oh yeah. There's that building. He's like, yeah, it's the Oklahoma building. It's like, oh yeah. So that's ammonium nitrate and fuel oil. For those who don't know, it's a blasting explosive. It does things like break up rocks so that you can do things like make really nice granite countertops, and it also takes down federal buildings apparently, and almost takes down the Trade Center before it got taken down by planes.
Yeah, never mind the people that said otherwise that for some reason committed suicide shortly after saying otherwise. But that's neither here nor there. These things happen. They just mysteriously happen. Mysteriously.
Well,
But
if you wait another 30 years, I bet you can get those reports declassified too.
yeah, maybe so. On that note, I am because this is going to be it's going to read like a schizo thread, but we now know that MK Ultra and Monarch and those programs actually were legit. So I'm going to throw a link to a guy that claims to have been a part of these programs, one of the trained agents. So
That's the part where I got
fascinating read, and I would say really interesting to check out.
I hope it's legitimate, but like part of me wants it to be fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, because it's like it's so crazy. But then again, here we fucking are.
Part of me wants it to be like a copy of someone else's third-hand account with a bunch of wild extra details just thrown in there to fuck with people. Because like, how can you tell for part of it? Part of this is how could you tell? Like,
wild shit.
You have these declassified documents now that will tell you basically everything you need to say to convince someone that you were the guy, and then you can throw in some extra shit just to fuck with them a little further.
Are you good?
Like, just saying, like, I love that the internet has produced the possibility that this is a real thing, but also the possibility that it's very much not.
Well, I mean, hell, 10 years ago, I'd been a complete tinfoil on my head dude for saying that, that guy left Germany and had 2 daughters in Argentina and died of old age as a farmer. But
true,
here we are. The world is a fucking crazy old place, my brother. And with that, let's call it, because if we don't, I'm going to have to talk about that Democrat who called for the assassination of President Trump, and then, whatever. But we talked about him already.
Well,
and he is.
No, you see,
we didn't talk about that one. But we don't.
Well, I was going to say you can say something, but we don't know anything. So, or do we know something now?
Oh, about
that. Like, if we know something now, then cover it. But if we don't,
Carl Sprayberry? Oh, we know a lot about him. He made calls of assassination, and then he was party to children being trafficked across the United States of America. We don't know the specifics of that trafficking, just that he was a party to it. Oh, Democrats never change. Never change. And with that, thank you all ever so kindly for tuning in. What a crazy 10 years it's been since last week, right? So, anyway, we'll see you again real soon. I'm Evan, at That Fake Guy Dan. That's my man Craig, at CraigBob99. Share the show everywhere you can, with everyone you can. If you want to support us anyway, there's always links in the area down below, as well as links to most of what we've discussed as well. So, again, absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us. And
I was pleasured. I don't know if you were pleasured.
it's I derive joy from
So
sharing this knowledge
I
with
had
you
to get
guys.
a little bit of Steve in there. I miss him.
Get well soon, Steve. We love you, buddy.
Yeah.
And with that, be good, peeps. See you again real soon.